Shalom Israel, and welcome to another edition of Yasharallah's 20-minute breakdown, where I'll attempt to break down the scriptures within 20 minutes. But first and most importantly, let's give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Waha, Rakah, Kadash, and the Akims and the elders in the highways and the byways pushing this word in truth and sincerity, and the elder women teaching the younger women, and the brothers and the camps that are making edifying videos, edifying the body, all praises. Now, what I'm going to touch on today is the Apocrypha, which is you will find in the original King James Version 1611. And when it says King James Version, people miss that point, because all King James did was authorize the Greek and the Hebrew text to be translated into English. So what he did, he funded it, and he authorized for 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars to translate that text into what we can read and understand today. Right, and in this book you would find where you see Malachi, where normally Malachi is the end of the Old Testament, and the New Testament is what they call it, comes in with at Matthew. You find that there are 14 books that was removed by the Roman Catholic Church under the Protestants in the 18th century. They removed 14 books out of the original edition. Now, when you read the history on King James and how he authorized it, now, if you have one of these, which is written by our biblical scholars, which is the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, in here you would find that even they know the Apocrypha is authentic, because it's documented in this book on, I'll just tell you what page it is. Don't really want to go into it too much. On page 86 of the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, you'll see that it's documented that when King James authorized the text to be translated, he had 47 of the best Hebrew and Greek scholars. Now, he divided them into 6 groups. He divided them into groups, Salaki, and then he had a set of groups translate the Old Testament, and he had another set of groups translate the New Testament, and then he had a group translate the Apocrypha. So you see, it's documented by your your Hebrew, your scholars, your biblical scholars, that they know. But will they tell you that it's authentic book? No, they will not. Now, if you are not fortunate to buy the original King James 1611, where you would see the Apocrypha, if I open it up, where Malachi ends, where the book of Malachi ends, that's where the Apocrypha should begin, because the Apocrypha is part of the Old Testament, which is 14 books, and it sits between Malachi and the book of Matthew. You see where Matthew starts. I don't know if you can see that. It's lucky Israel. Just trying to prove all things. Where the book of Matthew starts, you have all this from Malachi to Matthew. In between is what you call the Apocrypha. There we go. And there's 14 books in the Apocrypha. Now I'm going to quickly read to you the 14 books that are removed. Now, they are 1st Ezra's, 2nd Ezra's, Tobit, Judith, the rest of Esther, the wisdom of Solomon, Ecclesiasticus, which is also known as Sirach, Baruch, the song of the 3 holy children, the history of Susanna, Bel and the dragon, the prayer of Manasseh, 1st Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees. Those are the books that were removed. But like I said, if you can't get your hand on one of these, what you can do is what I did before I had this. I had the Bible that we all have in our homes and in the churches, which is the like the King James Version 66, which only consists of 66 books. I went online and I brought this. You can buy this on eBay. This is the Apocrypha, the authorized, see as it says on there, authorized King James Version. And this is the 14 books that were removed. This is what this consists of. So if you cannot get one of these, what you can do is just get this, because this, with your Bible, that your everyday Bible that you've been reading, will constitute to this full completion. Well, right, with that said, let's now get into the lesson, because my point is I'm going to prove that the Apocrypha is very much authentic, just as much as the 66 books that you've been reading from, before you were born, shall we say, which your grandma had in her house. But with this as well, it's the completion. I'm going to prove to you that this is authentic. And we should include this in our study just as much as we use the regular Bible. We need the complete Bible. Okay, now without further ado, let's get into the lesson. So now I'm going to start my timer in 3, 2, 1. We're away. Now let's go straight into it. I'm going to go to the book of Genesis, chapter 25 and 25. But I'm going to start at verse 24 just to give you the context, because this is just about when Isaac, was married to Rebecca, and she now conceived, but there was twins in her womb. So I'm going to pick it up from there. Okay, and it reads, the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Verse 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Verse 26. And the other, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And then it reads, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. So we see they were bare to Isaac. Now it said in verse 26, Jacob's hand took hold of Esau's heel. Now, what does that mean? Now, to get the understanding of what that means, you've got to now have the Apocrypha. Yeah? And now let's go to 2nd Ezra's in the Apocrypha, chapter 6, verse 8 and 9. And it reads, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, just what we read in Genesis 25, verse 26. Now listen to this, verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So it's showing you Esau, which are the Edomites, they're going to be ruling up to the very end till the Messiah returns. And then rulership will change. Then Jacob now would rule with righteousness, obviously with the Messiah at the helm. Yeah? And let's just watch this. Let me just quickly go to Luke chapter 21, verse 24. And it reads, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. That's the Israelites being led away captive into all nations, into slavery. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. See that? Just explain that too. The time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to quickly read to you Revelations 2 verse 9. Show you something about these Gentiles and who's occupying that land today. Listen to this. The Bible tells you everything. This is the Revelations 2 verse 9, and it reads, I know thy works and tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Now, you see, he's saying that he knows that our works, our tribulation, and our poverty. That's the real Jews and the real Israelites. But he says, thou art rich. Why does he say thou art rich? If you read Romans chapter 9, verse 4, because the covenants, the glory, the giving of the law, the promises, the adoption, all that pertains to the Israelites. That's why we are rich. And then it reads, And I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but the are the synagogue of Satan. You see that? Now watch this. It's going to further repeat this on Revelations 3, verse 9. Now listen to what it says here. Book of Revelations, chapter 3, verse 9. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. So you see that? He's telling you that he's going to make them who claim they are Jews and are not come and worship at our feet. Because you look at it, those people that say they are Jew and are not, are they in poverty? They own the media and the wealth of the land, the gold, the diamonds. You go up to Hatton Gardens, look at all them jewelry shops and diamond shops. Look who's running them. Need I say any more? Now let's move on. Now watch this. I'm going to go to the book of Hosea, chapter 14 and verse 5. And it reads, I will be as the Jew unto Israel. See that ongoing theme? Israel again. He shall grow as the lily and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. Now watch this. We're going to go to the book of Ezra's once again. We're going to stay in Ezra's for now. Second Ezra's, we're going to go to 5 verse 24. Listen to this. Remember, he just likened us as the lily. Now watch what he says here. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 5, verse 24. And it reads, and of all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen thee one pit. So this is, the Most High. Of all the lands of the world, he's chosen one pit, one area, Jerusalem. Yeah? And of all the flowers thereof, one lily. So you see, his favorite flower is the lily. And what did he liken Israel as when you read in Hosea? As the lily. Now let's move on. Just showing you all these things that you'll find in the Apocrypha that you won't find in the 66 books that we were given. Now watch this. I'm going to go to Isaiah 40, verse 15 to 17, and it reads, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. Verse 16. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, Slaki, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. Verse 17. All nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. So you see, it says that there is a drop of a bucket and a small dust of a balance. So imagine you've got them balance that you weigh fruit. You put dust on that balance. How much does it weigh? Nothing. See that? And it says they liken them as a drop of a bucket. Now, if you have a bucket full of water and one drip drops out, do you care? No, you don't. Now listen to this. Let's go to 2nd Ezra 6, verse 55, Slaki. No, let's go to 2nd Ezra verse 6, chapter 6, verse 56. Actually, no, let's start at 55. Listen to this. All this I have spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. Now here's the point coming in. As for the other people, which also come from Adam, because remember everybody come from Adam. As for the other people that also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. You see that? Now you might be saying, yeah, that could be talking about anybody, but watch this. Let me just go up to verse 54. Watch this. And it reads, and after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. So you see, he's showing that everybody come from Adam, and also the people who thou hast chosen. So he has a chosen people. And then obviously what I read prior, it goes into that. Okay, hope you got them understanding with that. Now let's go to Jeremiah chapter 32 and 12. Let's run through this quick. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 32, verse 12, and it reads, "And I gave the evidence of the purchase unto Baruch, the son of Neriah, the son of Maserah, in the sight of Hamiel, mine uncle's son, and in the presence of the witnesses that subscribed the book of the purchase before all the Jews that sat in the court of the prison." Now, listen to this. That was Jeremiah. Now, watch what it says in the book of Baruch in the Apocrypha. And we go to Baruch chapter 1, verse 1. Just want to give you the quick verse, the beginning verse, so you can get what he just said in Jeremiah. Listen to this. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 1, verse 1. "And these are the words of the book which Baruch, the son of Neriah, the son of Maaseiah, the son of Sedilus, my pronunciation ain't good, so forgive me on that, the son of Asadai, the son of Cheslai, who wrote in Babylon." So I'm just showing you, see, where it just shows you the same book that Jeremiah just said he gave the evidence of the purchase to Baruch. Now it's just showing you in the book of Baruch the same thing what it just said in Jeremiah. Now let's move along. Now watch this now. Now we know that Israel, every time they sinned and broke the Most High's commandments, they went into slavery, into bondage. Remember, they were in bondage in Egypt, and from the mighty hand of the Most High, using Moses, he delivered them out of Egypt. So if you want to read about the Egyptian, what happened in there when they came out, you can read about that in the book of Exodus. After that, when they came into the promised land eventually, the Syrians, after they sinned as always, the Syrians came down and took them captive. Now you can read about that in 2 Kings, about the Syrian captivity. Then after that, the Babylonian captivity under Nebuchadnezzar, which was, you can read about that in 1 Chronicles. And then after that, you had the Persian and the Mede captivity. You can read about that in the book of Ezra, when Cyrus the Great was in power. Then after that, who rose up after him was Darius. And then in the ordinary 66 books of the Bible, it jumps from the Persian Mede captivity to the Roman Empire, where you can read about that in Luke under Caesar, which I think it was Nero at the time. And then after that, you had the transatlantic slave trade under the Europeans. You can read about that in the book of Deuteronomy. But my point is, now if you notice one thing it missed out, we know through history the Greeks rose up into power under Alexander the Great. Then you had Antiochus rose up. Now, my question is, where is that captivity in the Bible? It's spoken about every captivity. The Egyptians, the Syrians, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Romans, and then the transatlantic slave trade. Where is the Greek captivity? Well, I will tell you, you will only find the Greek captivity in the Apocrypha, which is under the Maccabees. That's where you will find it, which was removed. Now, let's go there. Let's go to Maccabees 1, verse 1. Watch this. The book of 1 Maccabees 1, verse 1, and it reads, "And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Mede, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece." Now you see, there's the record of it there. You need if you haven't got the Maccabees, you will not know this history. Okay, so see that? Right? And then it says, we jump down to verse 7. "So Alexander reigned 12 years and then he died." Okay, we just jump down to verse 10 quickly. We'll move along. And verse 10, "And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, the son of Antiochus, the king, who had been hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 130th and 7th year of the kingdom of the Greeks." So you see, that's who was reigning in the Greeks. Now watch this. And then in those days, verse 11, in those days went out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathens that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So you see, I would quickly jump down to 13 because that device pleased them well. It just tells you that in verse 12 quickly. Verse 13 says, then certain of the people were so forward wherein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathens. You see, they forsook the Most High's laws, statutes, commandments, and they started to live as Grecians, and they called themselves Grecians. And this is the demise of, the northern kingdom right there, because now they were calling themselves Grecians and they were no longer calling themselves Jews. So, and then, or Israelites. So obviously, as generations were born, that was filtered out. Now they were speaking Greek. Greek was their first language, and so forth. Now, watch this. I'm going to quickly go to Second Maccabees. I'm going to prove all things here. Second Maccabees. I'm going to go to chapter 6, verse 4 and 5. Now listen to this. Because like obviously after all this, let's start at 2. Listen to this now. And they and to pollute, this is second Maccabees 6 verse 2, and to pollute also the temple in Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter. See that now? So they polluted the temple now, yeah. And that's just a quick thing I'm going to give. I'm going to jump now to 4, where I was going to go to originally. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots, and had to do with women within the circuit of the holy places, and besides that brought in things that were not lawful. Verse 5. The altar also was defiled with profane things which the law forbids. So you see, there was putting swine on the altar. They had, they was using the Most High's house like a whorehouse, basically, to put it bluntly. Right, now watch this now. Let's go back to the 66 books of the Bible that we know, and let's go to the book of John, chapter 22, John chapter 10, verse 22 and 23, and it reads, and it was at Jerusalem the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. See, that is making a record. It was winter. And then listen to verse 23. And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. So it shows you the Most High, the Messiah, Salaki. The Messiah was keeping the feast of dedication. So he knew about it. So there must be a written record. Now, where is that record? You will not find that in the Bible. You'll only find that record in the Apocrypha. So let me go to that record. Now look at this. First Maccabees 1. Salaki. First Maccabees chapter 4. We just go straight to verse 59, just to show you that this is the record that was kept. Listen to this. First Maccabees chapter 4, verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season. That's why it said in John chapter 10 verse verse 22, where it says, and it was winter, because it had to be kept in its season. And then back into Maccabees, look, from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 5th and 20th day of the month Chesleu, with mirth and gladness. So you see, they dedicated back the temple. They cleansed it and everything, all the defiled altar, they cleansed it. And what they did, now the Maccabees ordained the feast of the dedication for the cleansing of the temple, to cleanse it and bring it back to where it should be. And the Messiah, now he acknowledged that feast because he attended. That's why there's a record of him attending the feast in the book of John. But what you don't get is the record of that feast, the record of where it was kept, why it was kept. And you get that in the Maccabees. Now, watch this. Matthew 23. Watch this. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 23. And we'll go to verse 37, and it reads, This is the Messiah speaking. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chicken under her wing, and ye would not. Now, where did he get that from? He's quoting from the Apocrypha, because if you search the 66 books, you will not find that quote anywhere. But if you go to Second Ezra's chapter 1 verse 30, and listen to this, it reads, I gathered you together as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings. But now what shall I do unto you? I will cast you out from my face. See, he's saying you won't listen. Just like in the book of Matthew, the Most High said, the Messiah, so like he said, you won't listen. Well, I hope you got that understanding. This is Yasharallah now timing out. So I hope you can see that the Apocrypha is very much as part of the entire Bible. We need the Apocrypha with the 66 books to make the full 80 books for our complete studying and learning. And with that, this is Yasharallah timing out. And as always, we out.